who is your ideal customer profile. Try to get specific, figure out what age, what gender, and then what's the problem that they have that your product or service is the solution to. And that starts you down that path of kind of imagining the story.
You're listening to Stories from the Top, an inside guide to better business development.
So for today, me and Jeremy thought it would be fun to kind of just go over some different marketing tips. We're going to do a couple episodes like this coming up, but for today's show, we thought we'd kind of talk about brand story and why that's such a powerful tool in marketing, and just how emotionally engaging people in your messaging is so much better than just spitting facts about why your brand is awesome and all those different kinds of things. So Jeremy, do you want to give us a little definition from your perspective of what the brand story is?
Sure. So in my opinion, the brand story is when you take your value proposition and you tell the story about how, you paint the picture. You have your target customer, you illustrate what their problem is, and then you set yourself as the guide who takes them from this place where they have their problem to the place where they've found the solution. And it's that emotional storytelling using that character. And it's different from if you don't use your brand story, then you're probably just saying what you do, or you're saying why you're great, but you're not taking them through the process of showing them who your customer audience, your target audience is, and what problem they have.
Yeah, and I like to think of it as it's just a tool to hook people through emotion and let them really see that, oh, this company is actually thinking about me and not just themselves. And it's just an easy way to draw someone in and recognize that you're thinking differently about the way that they can and should be marketing themselves.
Right, keeping it focused on what the customer needs, not just like what the brand is or like your business. I feel like the trap that so many people fall into is they want to put together a commercial, they want to talk about why their business is the greatest, and they position themselves as the hero of the story. And that's really not what your customer wants to hear. They want to hear that you understand their problem and you have a solution specifically for them.
Yeah, so for people who are new to getting into brand story, there's a bunch of different ways to kind of map it out. But I almost like to take it back to like, why did you start your business? Like what problem did you see in the market that only you could solve by coming in and doing it? Like, for example, with us, we saw a ton of people that there was a lot of corporate video production companies. We kind of came in around 2009, 10-ish. We started 2009 officially. But that was just when the DSLR and like really good quality HD was affordable. And there were so many of the, like, we called it like the dinosaur guys with like the giant VHS shoulder cameras, or just a big tripod camera where they'd just be panning around in like a manufacturing facility making this horrible stuff.
And it would cost like $30,000 for one of those videos.
Yeah, it was super high cost of entry, and they'd charge, the cameras were super expensive too. I thought that's what you meant. Yeah. The equipment was super expensive. The videos looked horrible. There was really no standard of quality, or the internet wasn't even in a place where people were sharing a lot of that stuff. It was a lot of like internal or just some back end video they'd produce for their team members to watch. Like training videos was a big thing for a long time. But we saw that there was no one really taking a cinematic approach to it. We had just come out of film school where we really were super focused on the lighting and the storytelling side of things. And we saw that there was basically none of that in corporate. And that's where we saw like, hey, we could come in and bring that cinematic storytelling side into the corporate world and really try to revolutionize how people are telling their businesses and brand stories. And that was kind of how we started. And
yeah, it feels like common sense now. Like everybody knows you need to have great production quality for your media. If you don't have it, then it looks unprofessional. But back then it was like, how professional your video quality was kind of like second. I mean, yeah, those giant dinosaur cameras did not produce great quality stuff. And when you just had like one light, it looked really bad. But I love living in today's world where all this high quality cinema is so accessible to every business. Like it was like only for the elites back then, but now it's literally every business can get it for a reasonable price, and they have to get it to stay competitive. So it's a really fun time to be creating video for your business.
No, I think too, it's almost like like the authenticity side of the storytelling in business is, it's overextended almost into where like everyone's just doing that. Me on my cell phone. Hey guys, we're out here on the job site. This is the crew. This is how we like to do it, guys. We want everyone on our team to be safe, wearing their gear. We'll check in later, and like everyone's doing that influencer style thing. And I think it's funny. Like it went from, there was no standard of quality in corporate to a lot of businesses. Once like the more accessible, really high quality cameras came out, a lot of guys like us could come in and kind of disrupt the industry and create really nice looking stuff, to the point where everyone's stuff looked great. And then the authentic guy with the cell phone type of thing was really stand out. And like, wow, that guy's, it's just being himself. There's no production. There's no mask he's wearing. Right. To the point now where I think we're reaching saturation on that side of thing, where everyone's doing the authentic influencer type of thing, just ramming content down your throat. And then AI stuff coming on top of that with the video gen. I think it's due for a swing back sooner than later.
Back to the high quality.
Yeah, back to more side. Of a structured thing. And yeah, speaking to the structure, so let's say someone's new to marketing in that kind of brand story voice. What do you think is a good way for them to start kind of mapping out what their brand story is?
If they were just mapping out their brand story for the very first time, I would probably start with the question of who is your ideal customer profile, and try to get specific, figure out kind of like what age, what gender, and then what's the problem that they have that your product or service is the solution to. And that starts you down that path of kind of imagining the story, and you can get really specific. I know one of the examples I like to go back to is a company that did emergency dishwasher repair service, and their target customer is, let's say you run a restaurant and you're in the middle of dinner service and your dishwasher goes down. Like that needs to be fixed right away, or else you're going to have a lot of angry customers all of a sudden. So if we put ourselves inside the mind of that customer, we're talking about urgency. Like they need to be able to pick up the phone and have a dishwasher repair service, like a 911 call, like come to their facility, replace their dishwasher. And when you start understanding like what the customer is thinking at the moment they need your service, that starts informing you of how you need to do the tone in your commercial. Like this is an urgent thing. We're going to be quick and to the point. We're going to tell you what our value proposition is right out of the gate. And then there's other types of businesses, like let's say there was another customer who had done some videos with us, and their mission was to buy up legacy businesses. So they were talking to people who were getting ready to retire. They'd built out businesses, and he took a very long, slow approach that spoke emotionally to like the state they were in after, 30, 40 years of building their business. He wanted to come in and have a cup of coffee was his call to action in the end. But just an example of two very different businesses and how different their commercials needed to be in order to reach those target markets.
That's the other thing too, with the brands, like the brand story approach to it. It's not just this is the brand story. Everything's got to squeeze into this. Every service and product is kind of a different story of how it came to be and how it's interacting with the problems in your ideal client's life. Like for us, like as we got more and more advanced with video and we're doing a lot of things, we started noticing that our clients weren't quite sure what to do with it. Like, we'll throw it on the website. How come no one's seeing it? Well, who's visiting your website? How are they getting there? Are you driving traffic? Are the right people even seeing it? And that's how we expanded into more of like a full-blown agency where we help people get their websites set up correctly. We help drive traffic and map out all the strategy of what channels and who we want to go where and when and where they're at in the buying process, all that stuff. And there's a million different directions to take all that messaging, but the core of it really is that format of what is the person who's going to buy this struggling with, and present them with that solution first.
And not only that, like to your point, where you're going to place your ad is going to impact what you want the content of that ad to be. You can't just make one video and have it be everything to everyone. So that's another question I would definitely start off with is like, after this video is done, and let's say it's perfect just the way you wanted it, where are you going to put it? Where are people going to be seeing it? Because that's going to influence what content it is. For example, if you're designing a social media ad, that's going to look a little bit different than if you're designing an ad for the front page of your website. And the reason is because you have two different mindsets that the viewer is in. Like if I'm designing an ad that's going on social media, I need to remember that my viewer is sitting there scrolling, and we need to grab his attention. He didn't even search for my service or anything like that. He's just kind of there to entertain himself. So we're going to be taking an approach that is more leaning in towards entertainment. It's going to have a hook right in the first like 3 seconds that's going to grab their attention. And it'll probably be short and sweet because we know we don't have that much time to get our message across. But on the other hand, if we're on the homepage of our website, we know a few things about the person who's watching the video. We know that they were searching for our service and they found our website. So they're farther down the goal funnel. We know that they are interested in what we have to offer. So their attention span is going to be greater. It's not that everyone has the attention span of a goldfish. It's that we're very quick to decide what is for us and what's not for us. So we're just...
I think, too, like that's something we hear all the time when we were doing a consultation. A lot of people kind of come in and tell us, like, people don't have attention spans anymore. You got 5 seconds to hook them. And my response to that always is like, well, who are we talking to and what is the severity of the problem we're offering? Because, yes, if you're shoving some widget down someone's throat that they didn't want or think they're going to buy and you're hoping that you'll just sucker them into buying the $5 thing, then you've got like 1 second to make them think, whoa, that's cool, I need it. But if you're offering a solution that could save someone thousands or millions of dollars or whatever it is, they'll watch like an hour-long thing if you're really schooling them on the solution you have. So it all comes back to just that strategy of who are we talking to, where are they at in the buying process, and where are we reaching them? Kind of like you were saying with the different platforms. Someone who stumbles across something versus something that gets served to them on the right platform is a totally different experience.
Not to mention the amount of time that a customer spends watching your video is actually engagement time with your brand. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the process of building trust. For example, if I'm sure many people have experienced brands that put out content that you're eager to consume, and you might watch a video that's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even hours long. And those brands, like that time spent watching that content develops trust. And that's what we all have to develop with our customers before they're willing to buy from us, is that trust. So if you have like discounted long form content, you could be missing out. You really need a combination of that short form content to grab the attention that can lead through to the long form content that might be hosted on your website or on like a YouTube channel. But you really got to have the best of both worlds.
That's a kind of like a little exercise I give people too when we're in the planning phase is when you're scrolling through your phone or watching TV or whatever over the weekend, try to pay attention to what you get sucked into commercial wise and what you don't. Like what are you like, get me out of here, like, I don't want to see this. Or like what are you like, wait a minute, I just watched 2 minutes of some ad on a YouTube video, it's not even the video I came to see.
Right.
What was it? What was your state of mind, and why did you get suckered into it? Because there's a reason, and like there's a big reason all the monster ad agencies spend so much money on the psychological side of like down to like color science. It's like blue is much more pleasing, so let's make sure there's a blue shirt. And it's like you can break it down as deep as you want, but there's a real science and psychology to what's gonna suck someone in or not. And we really put the biggest focus on the messaging and strategy, like who are we talking to, what are we saying, why is it important to them? But there's so many different factors to it, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think when I think about all the advertising that I've consumed over my life, the ads that have been most effective on me personally is obviously the ones that I'm actually interested in already. So it was like I was already the perfect customer for them, and then I just happened to watch one of their ads, and maybe that happened because they were targeting my demographic or something like that. But either way, you have to know early in the ad that this ad is for you, especially if it's one that you could skip or something like that. So putting that value proposition early is always good. But then like if it's something I'm interested in, a longer form piece of advertising really makes you feel like you know the product, you know the brand, and you're like ready to buy by the time it's done.
Yeah, and I think to kind of close this discussion out, I kind of wanted to talk about the different platforms, because like we're kind of video heavy in our focus because that's what we do. But there's a lot of different ways, whether it's videos, your website, podcasting, or just like a graphic design ad or post, whatever you want to call it. Any one of those platforms can be used with a brand. Like it's like I said, it's a framework that can apply to pretty much any form of media and marketing.
Right.
There's really it's complete freedom really with how you want to use that.
Yeah, your brand story, you mean applying it to different mediums. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like this specific podcast we're making right now is us sharing some of our information and knowledge for people who are looking to consume some tips on marketing and possibly engage with us on a project or just get some information, or that, saw it in your feed.
Right. Anybody consuming content that we're putting out probably has their own business and they're trying to make it better. So all of our content needs to be feeding into that and giving little bits of information of how that's going to happen. And to your other point, like the same is true. Once you find what your brand story is, put it in your video, put it in your images, put it on your website headlines. It should be the same story everywhere, just told with different characters. But really it's that repetition of that same story that sinks into people's mind, so that when they have that problem that the character in the advertising had, they remember your brand and they know you have the solution.
It's like the kinetic, visual, and like auditory learner. It's like different people will absorb your brand story in different ways. And for someone who's just listening to an audio version of this, that might be amazing. Or someone who reads some similar copy on our website, that could flip a switch. You never know who's going to hit it, so you got to just stay consistent. So across, like everyone is always like, these are our brand colors. There's all the style guides and branding guides. Just as important as all your visual brand identity is that story that kind of goes with it.
Absolutely.
Great. So we're going to do a couple more episodes like this coming up. So stay tuned in the next few weeks. We also have a really cool interview we're doing, I think next week. But sooner than later, we'll have some really cool interview stuff coming out too. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next episode.
Stories from the Top is your guide to successful business development. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or find Edge of Cinema on YouTube. Stories from the Top is an Edge of Cinema production, hosted by Matthew Skura and Jeremy Schmidt. To learn more or get in touch, visit edgeofcinema.com/podcast.